Welcome to the Real Critic Roundtable, where black critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. This week we got a lot on tap. As usual, we have Kathia Woods and we have Shawn Edwards. So I don't even have too much to say other than every almost every um, show, Shawn starts off and says, "Vote." So I'm gonna steal it. I'm gonna
That's where
steal it.
we're at. That's where
I'm gonna
we're at, though.
I'm
We're in
gonna
the middle of
steal.
an election.
I'm gonna steal it before he say it. Vote. That's my commentary for the day. I'm passing it off to Katia.
I mean, listen, we know what the news of the day is. I don't wish anybody ill, but you will not see me being, I'm going to give him the same thing he gives everybody else when something's happening. My thoughts and prayers are with you. You know, I sincerely hope, and that's a lot of wishful thinking, that this will prompt you know who to take what is going on in this country serious now that he's experiencing a little bit of this. But the sad part is you shouldn't have to catch something before you care. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how sad times are for our country that what we saw on Tuesday night, we cannot even have civil difference of opinion. And I know this is a movie show, but what are we teaching our children? That's really what we as adults can discern this, but basically, what are our kids, we're trying to teach them about government, we're trying to teach them about voting. My daughter is 19. This will be her first presidential election. She voted in the primaries, but it's still, this is why young people are not engaged, because we turned it into the rock and sock and robots. So that's my opening statement. We got to do better. But yes, vote.
Shawn.
All right, my opening statement is: A, production starting to slowly get back to business. I am so happy for that. That means a lot. Like all those names you see at the end of a movie, those are all people who, for a long period of time, were not working. A lot of those people are starting to get back to their jobs and doing what they do best, which is create movie magic. So I'm glad that production is slowly and safely getting back to something close to normal. And I went crazy this week. I bought a movie theater. I am now part owner of the historic Boone Theater in the 18th and Vine Historic Jazz District. So I'm working on my post-pandemic plan. It's going to be a combination of Paisley Park meets 40 acres and a mule, and we're super excited about that. I'm going to really bring some great things to the Kansas City metropolitan area. So kicking off the show with great news, hopefully. People are
Whoa.
back to work and bought a building.
Whoa. You bought a
Yeah,
theater, man.
yeah.
That's breaking news. I don't even have music for that. So
Nah,
I'm going to do that in post. I'm gonna be like dun dun dun, dun breaking news. So where's the theater, man?
It's located in the 18th Divine Historic Jazz District. In fact, the place where the theater was initially built in 1922 was the location of the first and only Black drive-in outdoor movie-going experience in Kansas City. So we got some historical tax credits and some historical tax breaks. We're going to save a lot of the original building and put some new state-of-the-art stuff inside. Part theater, part event space, and will also house the Kansas City Black Movie Hall of Fame.
So firstly, when you guys open it up, Katia and I are coming out. So
Without a doubt. That's why I said I'm working on my post-pandemic plan. We're shooting for first quarter 2023. So
oh,
look for that. It's going, yeah, going to have a big event. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we get this thing pulled off. I mean, we are still currently in the middle of a pandemic, so it's going to start off slow. But yeah, everything's cool, man. Been approved by the city. Actually left the house for the first time in a long time in the Kansas City area. Had to make a presentation in front of all the city council people and the mayor. Everything's approved. Everything's set to go. We got the keys. We rolling.
oh man, that's great news. That's a great way to start the show.
My new
I,
career, man. My new career. I've always wanted to do something like this. I'm stretching out.
Hey! Congratulations, and
Thank you, thank you.
I'm backing that 100%. It's really
Come
great.
through. Yeah, we're gonna do some really creative things in terms of the programming. Hopefully, it has a national and international appeal too, and be a part of the whole tourism package here in Kansas City, Missouri.
Well, it definitely sounds like the plans are there for that to do that. Um, Katia, every week we always start off on something serious. So thank you for your commentary.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to overlook
yeah,
what what
yes.
what you said because it is this is an important time. And what I'll say is that we're going to talk about a movie that relates to voting a little later. Actually, it'll be the last one in the show. But what I'll say is that I am so happy that these films have come out around this time because I think that it gives people a look as to why they should vote.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we have been talking about things like Good Trouble, All In, um, just the myriad of films that are trying to get people to be in the process. So really
Although
happy.
if you need a movie or a documentary to stress the importance of voting, I'm still scared.
Yeah,
Well,
no. That's true.
that
That
is true
I'm
though.
just
But the
saying.
problem is the
I'm
people
just saying.
who are, I mean, the problem though is the people who are speaking to the people that are sitting in the position that might be sitting or are sitting in the position of authority are not journalists. These folks don't have the thesaurus to make the connection. One of the things that I feel is super important to our community is the environment. There's a reason why 1 out of 10 of our kids in inner city has asthma. That is not all hereditary. That is environmental. But we don't talk about that because, again, we are having influencers. And I get it because you want to reach a demographic that doesn't traditionally vote. But what happens is you don't have nuanced conversation. You need that person on the bookend who gets into the issues and makes a connection that affects the community.
and what I'll say to that, to add on to that, Katia, is that Shawn, when you say you shouldn't need a movie to vote, what I will say is that I am 50 something, and I am still learning stuff about my history. And I'm supposed to be an educated person, and I'm still learning stuff that just didn't know by watching some of these movies. And I think that for me, they do give some compelling information that I didn't know before. And I'm hoping
No,
that
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing, but that shouldn't be the reason why you vote.
well,
Yeah,
this is what I'm
we get
saying
to make
though
it better.
is that I think because you get so much misinformation that people opt out of the system with misinformation that by getting maybe some of the right information about what people did, how they really fought to vote. I know for a fact in my kids' schools that they didn't teach Black history at all. So a lot of this stuff about how people fought for the right to vote, they're like, yeah, I don't even connect to that. I don't even know what you're talking about. They just did a study that showed that how schools don't even talk about this type of stuff. So the only grace
That's
that I'm giving,
understood. That's
the
still
only
not a reason to
the
me.
only grace, but the grace that I'm given is that hopefully movies are to entertain, but hopefully movies do educate, and that the education
Oh, of course.
may tip some people over to do that.
No, no,
I
you.
agree with you that it shouldn't, but I'm saying that I think for a couple of people that it might. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All
I'll
right,
go with
all right.
that.
We'll get to our first movie today.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. See, I'm coming to Kansas City, dude. What's
You
up?
come through,
All right,
man. Come through.
all
Come
right,
through,
all right.
please.
Well, for a minute, I felt like I was on the rocks with
No,
you.
no, no,
Oh,
no, no,
oh
no, no,
no,
no,
oh,
no.
that's the movie.
I get
That's
it.
the movie that we need to talk about. On the rocks. Yeah. On the rocks. So Shawn, so we
See,
get.
I didn't see this. I didn't see On the Rocks.
Oh, you didn't see it.
No, I did
Did
not
you
see
see
On the
this
Rocks. I haven't
one,
seen it.
Katya?
Yeah, and you know what? I think just so we're all on the same page, this is a Sofia Coppola movie, and I'm up and down with her as far as her films. Do you know what I mean? But I like this one, and I would tell you something else too. I like Marlon Wayans in this because to me, I believe certain actors are better when they're in other people's vehicles than their own, and to me, he's one of them. I think he's uber talented, but when he wears all the hats, like with sextuplets, I believe that was the movie that he wrote and produced, and he did, everything. I was like, ooh, we might have gotten in over our head. But with this, I liked him in this, and I'm happy that he's doing more work like this, where we get to see him, the versatility that people say is there, but we haven't always seen it.
Wow, so it's really interesting. Sean B, I know you said you didn't see this one,
No, no,
but
no. Yeah, because we're not
yeah,
covering that
yeah,
here in this
no,
market.
yeah, no problem. But Katia made a point about Coppola. Um, uh, do you like her work overall,
Hello.
Sean?
Oh, do I like her work? I'm sorry. Do I like her work overall?
Yeah, yeah.
Sophia Coppola's been hit or miss. She's definitely a skillful director. I don't think she's the strongest storytelling, and I've always had pace issues with her. But I mean, she's okay. She's definitely leaned up against her family name to get propped up. I mean, you can tell that. But no, she's okay. I mean, she's had some good movies, and she's had some woefully mediocre movies, but she's never had a bad movie.
Yeah, so I really wanted to get your thought on that, even though you didn't see the movie. Is that I liked a couple of things on this one, Katia, and one is I felt it was an honest look at marriage. I felt that it was an interesting view of how other people can influence your marriage and kind of get in there and mess it up. Don't be listening to other people. And then I and then we all know that.
I was ready to say,
Don't,
yeah, that's
don't
street knowledge 101.
don't do it. Don't do it. And then I think it shows the insecurities of men as well as the insecurities of women. What I didn't particularly like about this one is that I did think that in there she made the husband's insecurities almost less than the woman's insecurities in my opinion. And I also felt that they didn't use Marlon Wayans. It's interesting that you would say that you liked him in this one. I didn't think they used him well. I think that it was a role that anybody could have played because it didn't have that much depth to it. It was like, I'm at work, I'm not. I'm at work, I'm not. So I wish that he had uh, more freedom to express some different sides of his personality in that, because to me he came off as a bad dude. I was like, look, it really was your fault because you weren't talking about what was happening in the marriage. You like, why didn't she ask you? You were off just kind of like in La La Land, working, doing whatever you're doing, and you're not communicating to your spouse. So I just didn't think they did a good job with him. I think that this film for me is like, if you watch it, you walk away and you're not feeling like, okay, I wasted my time. Murray was funny and interesting and all that, but I want a little bit more depth for the Marlon Wayans character.
I mean, what I liked about it is because sometimes I think we all do this when you have actors that we're introduced to via comedically. We don't think they can do anything else but the kiki and the ha ha. And unfortunately, he has not been given a lot of opportunities to play something else. I hear he's supposed to be fire in this new Aretha Franklin movie. Like, he's really supposed to like go off on this, and I wish him blessings on that. But I think it's also important because what happens is we already know all the pigeonholes that people put you in when you are a black actor. Now, when people stereotype you and say that you can only do one thing, that limits you even more. So I think even though the role wasn't like the meatiest, but it does show that he can do this work, which in turn, because also there's a whole fan base of Sophia's that doesn't necessarily rock with him. Do you know what I mean? So this puts him in front of them, and that makes you hopefully maybe say, you know what? I like this. Let me find out more about him. So that's the way I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Bill Murray also is perfect for these types of movies.
He
This is
is.
what he does. He does that quirky, weird thing. It's like understated. And I agree with you. The whole idea that this man is like blowing up their marriage, you know what I mean, for lack of a better word, and she's an active participant in it. Like, she literally is not like, mind your business, you know, but then again, the movie would have been 2 seconds. But the point is, and that is real life. You have a lot of people when you've been married a long time, your relationship changes. It becomes sometimes a little stagnant because you've set into your roles. And other people, because they don't have a life of their own. They're bored of whatever is going on there. They throw a grenade on your
Oh,
stuff,
oh
and a
man.
lot of people, you know, allow this in. So that's basically Bill Murray. You know, he this is his way of reconnecting with his daughter. Let's go find out what your husband's up to.
So is this movie a true Oscar contender or a on paper Oscar contender?
This is not a true Oscar
It's not a
contender.
true Oscar, Brandon. If I don't see it for anything other, if, and I'm saying if, in a long shot would be screenplay. I don't. It's definitely not the performances, considering the
Where
stuff
does this
that.
rank? Where does this rank alongside Marriage Story, or am I off base?
No, no, no,
Oh
you're not
no,
off base,
that's
but
two different
it doesn't
worlds.
even come close to me.
No, not
It
even
doesn't come
close.
close to Marriage Story. And I think though, because Bill Murray did a really good job in his role, I could see how somebody might be trying to push that, but I don't think that um, the just the material in and of itself would warrant that from an Oscar
I
perspective.
agree. I can see maybe the Globes, because the Globes reward stuff like this. I can see them rewarding stuff like this. I can't see, as we go further down the line, this getting expanded. It's nowhere near as good as Marriage Story.
No,
You
no,
know, I mean, first of
nowhere.
all, Marriage Story, we're getting two different points of views, two fully developed people. We're seeing how this marriage, we understand why these people are getting divorced. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
And
glad you
we have
brought that up though.
empathy, and
Yeah,
depending
also,
on.
it sounds similar to me. 'Cause like I said, I haven't watched. I don't. I don't. I tend not to watch trailers before I have to watch something, so I haven't watched the trailer or any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt in Marriage Story, I had empathy. I actually liked Adam Driver's character more from a woman's perspective, and I empathize with him. I don't necessarily. I just look at her like you letting somebody literally blow up your personal life for no reason. There's no
Yeah.
justifiable reason there.
Yeah, well, that's that on that movie. Thanks for that question, Shawn, because I think it's a good one. In that it's not relevant because the other one is so much better. But anyway, we're gonna go to the movie that you recommended we talk about is The Glorious. So talk to us about that.
Well, you have to because The Glorious is a very timely movie because of the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's a movie about Gloria Steinem. I hope people know who Gloria Steinem is, but in case you don't, she was a leading figure in the fight for women's rights back in the late '60s, early '70s. I'm not, I don't know what they teach in school. I'm far removed from that world, but I'm hoping this is part of like the historical curriculums in middle and high schools. But in case it's not, she did a lot for the liberties that not only women have, but men have, and African Americans and Hispanics and Asians and people of certain faith and the LGBT community. If it weren't for her, a lot of the rights that we have right now that are still on the books as of now, she helped either put in place, support, and fight for.
You
She's just
laugh,
a
you
well.
laughing, and I know why. I know why you laughing because I just got through saying that there's certain things people don't teach. And I don't know what they teach in school about her as well, but she is an important figure. So I like this film for a couple of reasons. One,
Well, let me finish. Well,
oh, go ahead.
let me say this. I like the film first, but you need to understand. If we're going to set it up correctly, it's directed by Julie Taymor, who is a fantastic and brilliant director. No need to identify gender on that. She's just a great director. She's one of the more like mainstream directors who displays artsy tendencies, and more of them work than fail, which can be said about this movie as well. There's a lot of tricks and devices she uses in this movie. Some of them are cool, and some of them fall flat on their face, but at least she always tries. And in case you're not aware of her filmography, she is the director of the movie Frida, about the world renowned painter. And probably this will connect more with general audiences. She's also the one who brought the Lion King, the musical, the life, and implored all the puppeteering and everything you see in that production that made that thing jump to life. So she was the woman responsible for that. So that kind of gives you a sense of her directing style and her creative nuances, which she uses quite a bit of in this movie. And like I said, some of them work and very well. A lot of them don't. And the one device that she did use, and I'll let you guys discuss this, I thought it worked sometimes, not all the time, but she uses various actresses to portray Gloria Steinem through different stages of her life, including Gloria Steinem herself. Um, like I said, it works some of the time, and some of the time I'm like, man, this is like weird, and man, and this is the movie that Gloria Steinem deserves, but Gloria Steinem still deserves a better biopic.
You're hitting the things that I hit. I think that being artsy, you're so nice, Shawn. Sometimes you're like, okay, I like that she tried. No, sometimes don't try something. Just stop it. Just stop. Just stop it. For
Pump the
me,
brakes, pump the
the
brakes.
pump the brakes is that when she went into some animation type stuff, I didn't need that for her for Gloria Steinem's story,
Not
and
in this movie.
and I also didn't need all of the times that the different Glorias got together. I thought it was good, but I think she overused it. The thing that I love about what you said though is that she deserves something, and this was decent.
Yes.
It's decent, but it wasn't killer. But let me tell you one of the other things that I loved about this film. I love the fact that they didn't allow Gloria to take all the credit, that they paid homage to the African American women who were her mentors, who were
Yes.
the leaders, and that they did not allow her to just grab all that credit, and they showed those people. And it also illustrated to
Not
me,
enough though, but they showed them.
they did at least. I'm
At
saying
least
at
they
least
acknowledged. They
at least
acknowledged. They
they did,
acknowledged.
and it wasn't so cursory though. It wasn't. It might not have been enough, but it wasn't just like,
Right.
let me just jump over these people. Oh, this woman helped out a
That's
little
true.
bit.
That's
So
true.
I really like that.
Although I wish they would have. I wish they would have like delved more into Gloria's love life and love interest, because a lot of that also shaped her attitudes and her ideology as well. And they just kind of gently brushed over. A lot of that is because she also has some interracial relationships that they kind of like just spot checked, in the film, but they didn't give any full. Actually, the TV series on FX, Mrs. America, did more to explore that side of her life than this movie did. And that's sort of like you can't compare this to that, because one was a TV series and it was from a different POV. And this is a straightforward biopic specifically about Gloria Steinem. I mean, so you can't compare the two, but they did reference some of that better in the TV series than they did in the movie. And this movie also co-stars Janelle Monáe. And I don't know when that child sleeps. Like,
But
like,
here's
when
the
do you
thing is,
sleep?
here's the thing is, the FX series wasn't particularly about Gloria. It was about the women's.
That's what I said. It's not about. It's a different POV.
And also you have, when you have 10 episodes, you have more time to talk
Oh,
about.
that's why I said you can't compare.
But here's my issue with this movie. I'm glad we learned a lot about her beginnings, because they definitely informed her perspective, her relationship with her mother, like all of us. You know what I mean? Especially that generation. So we definitely understand a little bit what made her say, "I don't want this life," because this is what happened to my mother, and her attitude towards marriage. Because a lot of people didn't always thought that, because it was part of the feminism, and I think they finally didn't learn. It had nothing. One had nothing to do. She just saw what her mother went through, and she was like, "I'm not going to hand over my life to a man. Not doing that." So am glad that we get that piece of it. The other part is, I am glad that we get to see, for instance, her putting Ms. Magazine together, which was huge. It's monumental. A magazine for women, about women, and we're talking about substantive things, not us doing our hair and our nails and our politics and our work environment, all of those things. People don't know a lot about Gloria because, again, people don't teach women's history. People don't teach contribution of women. Her breakthrough story for on the Playbook Club, how they definitely, were running a sweatshop for women in there, and where women didn't have rights. That was way before she started all this other stuff. And also, I think what I like about this film is we do see her struggles, that the road wasn't always easy. I think a lot of people romanticize her, and make it seem like everything was peachy keen and all of these things fell into place, which they didn't. I mean, the 1970s, you didn't really have a lot of the laws. Men still made more money than women. It was perfectly acceptable to do sexual harassment. And the part that I thought was really important too in the movie, when the women talked about their healthcare issues, which is so prevalent in today, when, they're in there and they're all talking about, who had an abortion, and I think that is huge, because again, people think that women come to this decision because they want to kill a baby. I'm like, no, it's so much bigger than that, and also because women didn't have options. So I really like that. The only thing that I saw this at Sundance and I saw it in the morning, and to me, sometimes the film felt long. There were moments where it dragged a little bit for me. Do you know what I
Well, that's
mean?
because of but the reason it drug, like if you were to go through, I mean, hindsight's always 2020, but if you were to go through and edit out all of the bus device scenes, it'd be fine.
Well,
That's where it got slow.
it is. I
I
think,
know, but she didn't.
but I'm saying it can be, a little offsetting for people that don't want to take that journey and learn more about her. They may tap out at certain points of this. But I do think it gives us a full postcard. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that they wanted to shy away from interracial relationships, because again, I think Julie took the perspective that she didn't want the men in her life to be the center of this perspective. This was her journey.
I
the,
mean,
the
maybe, but
women the women that came along on this journey with her, on them finding out and them saying, you know what, I don't want this for myself. I don't want this for my daughter. I don't want this for other women. And I agree with Reggie. I'm glad that they included the Black women voices in there, because again, feminism, the women's movement are so associated with white women, but just like the suffrage movement, none of that would have happened if Black and Hispanic and
right.
Asian women wouldn't have jumped into the fray. They needed those voices. They needed that allyship.
Yeah,
Again, I don't hate this film, but I didn't love it. It was like in between. There are parts of it I loved, and there are
yeah.
parts of it that I'm done without.
It's yeah. It does sort of like work like that for me. I mean, like, yeah, every movie has to stand on its own, and if you like watch this movie on its own, it's slightly better than average. I would actually recommend watching the series, the FX series, Mrs. America first, because it kind of like sets a foundation. Then watch this, and then you get a really bigger picture of what the women's movement was like from the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, the more information you can get, the better. But as a standalone, The Glorious is just a slightly better than average movie.
Yeah.
I agree. There's two things that I do want to mention, and I'm glad that also they included Native Americans in this movie.
She
Again,
tried, man. She tried, man. Julie tried.
I was glad that they did that as well. And then the too long thing. I just want to speak on that. For me, I did feel that it was too long, and I think it was because of the artsy stuff that she was trying to do that made it. The Gloria story to me is strong enough to stand Gloria, not not some tricks and
No,
try,
I agree.
I just think her story is strong enough to do that, and I agree, better than average. All right, let's move
And
on. What?
just a quick piece of trivia for the record. I did get a chance to interview Gloria Steinem for Fox 4 News here in Kansas City, and she denounces Mrs. America, which I did not know. Like staunchly denounces that series. So
Oh,
I'm not afraid to admit I asked a question that bombed on live television. She staunchly denounces that series, which I found interesting.
well, I don't know if that's a bomb. I think that that's always good when you can get when you get.
That's
They
pretty.
do say they only say in court. They say in court don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. They don't
Yeah,
say
I
that
did
in
not know
journalism.
that. I had not read that anywhere. Man, man. It changed the whole tone of the interview, but she was like not having
It's like I don't want to have it. Well, hey,
it.
I'd love to interview her myself because she seems like a
Wasn't having it.
very
Wasn't
interesting
having
thing.
Oh, and
it.
here's, speaking of trivia, a lot of people don't know Alice Walker got her start with Ms. Magazine before she went on and
It's a
did
writer.
The Color Purple and all of that.
I
So
didn't know that.
that
Pulitzer
magazine,
Prize winning Alice Walker.
that magazine launched a lot of writing careers, because again, contrary to popular opinion, there weren't a lot of places were allowing women to write about politics, about issues that were concerning
Nowhere.
them. under their own name. There were a lot of
Nowhere.
women writing, but they weren't writing under their own name.
That's right. Well, so moving from women to boys, let's talk about boys, the boys in the band. The boys in the band. So Katia, you are a theater person. You know that this was on off Broadway, and it it ran for a while off Broadway. Talk about this one from if did you firstly did you get to see this one?
Yeah, I saw the original and I saw this new version.
All right, we'll talk. Hey,
This play
I'm a,
was revolutionary in the 60s because I tell you what, this was the first time that we got a glimpse into gay life from a gay perspective and what it was like and the sanctuary that gay men created for themselves amongst themselves. You know, this was so, I tell you, this was so revolutionary. I did a little thing the other day. 6 of the men that were in this play died of AIDS.
that's right.
That's,
Yep.
let that sink in. Number 2, a lot of them, this was one and done. They didn't get any more jobs.
Nope.
This did not launch careers. So when this was revisited, I believe like a year and a half ago, we want to say, number one, the difference is all the actors that were in it were out and proud. So it was accepted. They've been working. This was not a career bender. Also, it's a lot more accepted, a lot more palatable. It was phrased, you know what I mean? Because we're what 40 years later, and we've have been more educated. We've had the gay movement and LGBTQ movement, excuse me, and it's way after Stonewall. So we're looking at it from a different lens. But when this came out, people had issues with this. You're promoting a lifestyle. You're having, you know, you're trying to influence this, you know, and all the stuff that goes with it. What I think is important is that we don't look at it from the lens of 2020 because this does take place in the 1960s, right? So you still have men that are out to each other but can't live as their true self. So I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say this is a lot of shtick and this is a lot, but you've got 2020 visors on, not 1960s visors.
What I
I
liked
also
about
think it's
this though,
important, though. I think it's important because we still have to learn a lot of the issues that they're talking about are prevalent. We still have a lot of stereotypes, especially us in the Black community. We got a lot of growing to do. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad this work is out there.
yeah. What I liked about it actually is that it didn't try to tell me what was happening, how this related to 2020. That it didn't try to make that connection. It was like this is a period piece about that time, but it was still relevant in that some of the issues and the things that they went through from, you know, uh, infidelity, just showing a gay guy being having different partners, just like a regular guy. I like the fact that this piece it was bold enough to do that, and that they stayed as close to the original as possible, because I think it would have lost something to try to be preachy today. Yeah, to try to be preachy today, Shawn.
Well, the reason that it works and the reason it fails is because it does stay true to the original. And no, you can't look at this with 2020 eyes, but it's hard not to look at it with 2020 eyes. And, you get the fact, you understand that, yeah, this is a period piece and it takes place during the late 60s. And yeah, the original was like groundbreaking and revolutionary, but it never pops up on any critics like it's the best film ever list. Like it's still one of those hidden gems. Yeah, I think it was solidly done. I mean, the ensemble cast is amazing, but they should be. The main cast all are reprising their roles from the Broadway production, so they should be solid. It's just yeah, it works more than it fails, but I think it has the same detriment that Rent had when Rent was finally adapted to the big screen. Yeah, you have to look at Rent through like 1980, through 1980s eyes and not your current eyes, but it's also the strength of the film and the weakness of the film, which can happen sometimes.
Yeah, what
I
I
want to
thought.
say this. I disagree with you. It is on the list of members of the LGBTQ community because it's for the
No,
first
but that's a
time.
neat list, but it's not on the main. It never hardly ever
But
pops up on the main
this is
list.
not about us though. We need to stop that as straight people putting
No,
our
no, but
lives
it should.
on
No, no, no. I
it's
think
not
we're
about
saying the
us.
same thing.
It's
It
not
should.
about
It
us. It's
should be
about
on.
the
It should.
movie. And this is my
It should
problem.
be held by every.
No, 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 no. This is
Okay.
not about it. We cannot put our straight lens on this. This is
Okay.
not
Well,
about us.
all right. It's fine.
This
But
is
but
not about us, though.
but see,
This, if
I want to
I,
anything,
push.
is to
yeah, it's
educate
fine. It's
us.
fine. It's fine. I
It's
mean,
if anything, is to educate us and to help. Like Jim Parsons' character, Michael, that is an eternal struggle because he's not. He's living in a world that's telling him that he doesn't matter. That's the
I get
demons
that.
are right there.
Right,
No,
I get that too, Kathia,
But
I
but I
these
get
want to
that.
push
demons,
back. But I want to
I
push
get
back
that.
though,
But
is that I actually disagree vehemently with you on this one because I believe that this is the same thing that we have as black folks, is that because
yes,
they can't understand us,
we never pop
Spike
up on mainstream
Lee's
lists.
movies can't be at the top of the
Right.
list. Is that to me, a good movie is a good movie. And I also disagree with Shawn in that it fails because it didn't fail to me. All of these characters popped so much that I was so interested in everybody. And I hated Harold's character, but I think they made it so I would hate his character. Oh, I
That's
can't
yeah.
I want to
yeah,
jump in
he's
the
an
screen.
ass.
I want to jump in the screen and just choke him. And so I hate it when uh that the LGBT that critics can say is great, but I think we should be able to say that
That's
these
what I was.
types
That's
of
my
movies
point I
are
was
great
But
making.
as
we
well.
don't,
So
though, Reggie. Why don't we?
But that's
Because
not. That's.
no, no,
I'm
no,
not.
no, no, no. Stop it. We don't because we do have homophobia, especially. You
I
can't
agree.
say that isn't part of it. We
I
have
didn't
to
say
I'm
it
put
not.
wasn't.
I'm
I
forth
didn't
not.
say it
I
was. I
don't think
didn't
that's
say
no,
the
it.
no, no,
argument.
no. That
That's
But
is
I
not the
don't think.
argument.
But I don't think
telling
that's
I'm
you
the
sorry.
argument. I
that is
think
BS. You're
I think
being
the
That's not the.
absolutely you're
I,
that is a lie, Shawn. You're not gonna
What are
sit
you?
up there and say that straight people embrace
no, he didn't
words
say
that
I
that.
didn't say
gay
that.
people.
What are you
That's
talking?
one
You
of the
said
main reasons that movie doesn't pop up as one of the important movies, or is it a good
no.
movie?
Well, you
No,
can't say I'm a
we're not
lie. I
doing this
mean, that's
today.
this is
We're
a.
not
You
doing this
can't say I'm a
today.
lie on a. Number one, let's clear the rules of the show up. You can't say I'm a lie on the debate show. And number one,
No,
you need to
because
calm
you are.
down
You
because I'm
can't.
about
First of
to,
all, you
dude. I'm
can't
about to
even
show.
comment on this.
I'm
I
trying.
can comment
All right,
on this,
whatever.
and
Let's go.
Reggie and
Let's
I can
move
come because
next,
we're
dude. I
straight
don't. Dude,
people. Like we, I'm like,
okay.
let me just say, answer Reggie's
but
point. The difference is we and I say this humbly and respectfully, the discussion can't be led by us because we're straight. That is not our
You
life.
don't even know
And
my,
you
but you
can't
don't know
hold
my
up.
sexual orientation.
Excuse
So how do
me,
you know where my viewpoint's coming from? Number one,
Shawn,
I'm just,
stop it.
dude. You can't.
And
No,
stop
I'm
it.
just saying you don't know.
Second of all, you can't, it isn't the same as because we as black people with all the issues that we have, we're not being told our blackness is a wrong thing, that is a demonized thing. For the most part, we don't, right now, there are people literally putting that a senator put forth a law saying that you have to prove that you're a woman via your genitals. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we don't deal with. We don't have.
But that's not the
We
issue.
don't
That's
have
not
a
the
law
issue.
for saying that we have to prove our blackness.
okay,
That's a
so
That's
whole
not the.
different
That's
so
not the. That's not the
so
issue.
so no problem there, Katia. But
I know that's
no
not the
problem.
issue.
Let
Yeah,
me hear Shawn's point on this, please.
that's no. That's dude. That's not the issue. I'm just saying that back when this movie came out, I'll go back to my original statement. It was groundbreaking and revolutionary, and it did not, and it has not. When critics across the board construct their greatest movie list, it's never one of those movies that's held on a regular basis.
straight people.
It's not.
Straight people.
Even some get it's okay. It's
Straight people.
let's just move on.
Make
All
sure
right.
you
But
add
but
that part. Straight
but
people.
but but where
Let's move on.
I am not I still not where you are, Katia, and the reason is that I don't deny at all about the
Yeah, I
homophobia.
don't either.
I don't deny that at all. Is that if you just saw in soccer, a soccer team just
Yeah, they walked
walked
off
off
the
the field
field. They walked off the pitch.
because a black guy said a homophobic statement. So you'll never get me to deny. And in fact, if I watched this movie 40 years ago, I would be a different person watching this movie 40 years ago. So I just want to say that right now. I would probably be like, whatever. So I didn't see it back then, and I would probably have a different perspective. I still don't think that comes into play in terms of if a movie is a great movie, then it's a great movie. And I think I can only speak, I want to speak to this one. I think that the actors did a great job. I think that the writing in this was good. I think that the characters were interesting. I think it had heart. I think it had depth. And if people are, this is for me a movie that I would recommend. Shawn says it fails, but it didn't fail to me because I did not want to see this in 2020 eyes. I wanted to see it as during that time period.
When I say fails, I don't mean like overall. I just mean it would have been strong. I followed right there next to Rent. Like the impact would have been so much. The impact is so much greater based on the strength of when a film is initially released. Just like Rent, like that whole dealing with AIDS and that sort of thing was like when Rent first hit Broadway, you're like, whoa. But by the time they adapted it into a movie, you're like, okay. That's all I'm saying. That's all. That's it.
So,
no big deal.
Last word to you, Kathia.
No, I mean, I stand by that. You know what I mean? I think sometimes, and I hold myself to that same claim that we need to take a step back and listen to our LGBTQ brothers and sisters on what this piece of
we do
to them.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking, so extend me the same courtesy.
I just said I agree, dude. Chill.
Excuse me, I'm not dude, it's Kathia. Anyways, moving on, I'm saying that it is a different thing, and there are things in there, you know what I mean? Like I said, Michael is a really good example of so many things that we don't understand about the struggles that we don't have to go through. You know what I mean? And I think even though this took place in 1968, a lot of that stuff is still happening. We've got grown men that are in their 60s that still are fearful about being who they are because of dichotomy or because of being shunned by their community. And the list goes on and on.
And I think...
And the other thing too is about this film is, yes, there's a lot of bickering and there's a lot of, people being cut through, but there's also moments of joy. Within themselves, they find safety. They can be themselves. They can kiki and they can kaka. And that's why they also feel comfortable being hurtful because they're like, we're family. You know what I mean? We're amongst themselves. And I do think that's important, that even though it's 1968, we have made a lot of progress, but a lot of that stuff that's going on still is happening today. So as much as we made progress, we still got a long way to go.
I think you're right, and I think that that's a good segue to even talk about some of the things that we saw in the next film when we talk about the way I see it. We'll see some stuff in there that relates to that. The last comment that I'll say though is that this for me is a movie I would watch again. So my wife hasn't seen it. I would sit down and watch this movie with her and enjoy it. So that's the way I see it. But let's talk about
a great piece of work.
Let's talk.
And Jim Parsons is freaking amazing. Like he has really anything and everything that you, and as much as I love Sheldon and I love that show and I love everything about it, he has imploded. His post works in Sheldon has really shown you this guy is a really, really good actor.
No doubt. So let's move on to the next movie, and that movie is The Way I See It. And the way I see it is, Shawn, you always say there's a 4-letter word that you say. Let me see what. Vote.
Love. Vote. You should love. Love. It's a cinematic. This movie's a cinematic love letter, man.
Go ahead, man. Talk about it, man. The way I see it.
Just deals with God, and his name is slipping me right now, but White House photographer.
Pete Sousa.
Yes, he's a White House photographer. He had a chance to serve as the White House photographer during the Reagan administration, who was a pretty staunch Republican, 80s era. Then he had a chance to come back in the 2000s and serve as President Barack Obama's White House photographer. And he talks about, what it was like photographing Ronald Reagan and what it was like photographing Barack Obama. But you can clearly tell he was a bigger fan of Barack Obama than Ronald Reagan, because the biggest complaint about the film is, I love it because I love these types of documentaries, is it just wasn't balanced enough for me. He went way into the Barack Obama administration and took a deep dive and then it took a left turn to talk about his newfound celebrity as an Instagrammer because he tells the story and counteracts everything that current President Donald Trump does with photographs he took during the Barack Obama administration. So it becomes the tale of two documentaries in one. I would have liked it if they just would have talked about and did the comparison contrast between his time during the Reagan administration and during the Barack Obama administration and kept it straightforward and maybe done a separate documentary that dealt with his newfound social media Instagram celebrity.
So it's interesting. I like this a lot, Shawn, and it is your
Oh,
point
I liked it.
about
I just wish they would have,
yeah
it's two documentaries in one.
yeah your point about kind of jumping over the Reagan thing. I laugh because it is really clear that he
It's
jumped
so
over the
clear.
Reagan thing. But I think he does something. He gives me a reason why, and I think the reason why is the impact that Obama had on him was profound. When he was just doing his job, and he talks about this in the film, he was
He
just doing,
does.
he was just doing his job, but he found a decency, a moral compass
He fell
in
in love.
he did. He felt
Fell in love.
it that Obama put the voodoo on this dude, you know,
Yes.
and in a good way, actually, in a really
Yeah, it's
good
not
way.
negative. Yeah, he
Right,
fell in love.
right.
His photographs got better.
Oh my goodness. And then the stories that he interwove with with uh with those photos, I was crying, man. I had
No,
tears.
he's a great story. He's more than a photographer. He was actually it's a great piece of storytelling. He's a great storyteller. I just either like I don't know, like I said, hindsight's 2020. Either he should have did the whole documentary about his time in the Obama industry because all of it was wholly fascinating. Like it was 100% fascinating. Or he should have balanced it. I don't know. I just once he
I
got
hear
to the
you.
Obama part, there was just a there was
1,000%
new
of that.
there was new
I do,
energy.
because number one is we're talking two different technologies. We're talking before social media and after social media. Social media had a huge impact on how we cover politics, especially how we got a full front row seat. We now get a full front row seat on the day-to-day lives of our elected officials that we never got before because there wasn't a medium to connect us. All those photographs that we saw of Reagan were like, even like in the one where were staged, but they were for newspapers, for magazines, or for the evening news. They were. Whereas once Obama became, we had Instagram. That complete. Also, you have digital photography versus film. All of that changes. And also, when he was a photographer for Reagan, he was one. He was in the main one with Obama. He was the lead photographer. He ran point with that. With the
Right.
other situation, he was part of a team and he
I think
was
that's a good
point with
point.
that. So that's
It
also
is.
a
That's why I
different
said I wish they would have.
that is a different perspective. So when you get to run a show, you get more freeway. And also, that part, I mean, I wish he would have been, Reagan also was more conservative. He was older. He wasn't, for lack of a better terminology, hip. Obama is a young guy with a young wife. They're with the ish, so to say. So it's again, you're talking about two different groups of people. Like Reagan once said he didn't watch any movies prior to like 1950 because he didn't like how people kissed and how people's sexuality, all that was on display. So again, you have two different types of men. So I don't think you can compare. And also Pete is a younger guy. He probably is closer in age to Obama. So you have that type of relatable. They probably do have that same point of entry. So I totally get why he was more enamored
So what
with
did you like about it?
I liked everything about it. I liked how you understand the severity of the role. Like you're not just there to be, candid camera. You're documenting history. You are a part of the archive of this administration, also American politics, and the fact, the reverence and the respect that he gave it. You know what I mean? And then for some people, it goes to show you though that if we really take our blinders off and we go in and we get to know people, and I do believe that his politics align more with Obama than Reagan, but he didn't speak badly about Reagan. He had
No,
endearing
he
things
didn't.
to say. I mean, one of the things that I did like that he said, it was like, you know what, their marriage between Nancy and Ron, and whatever views you have about Ronald Reagan, it was a genuine love affair, the affection they have for one another, the support. He talked about all of that as well, just like he talked about the Obamas. I think, you know, we can't really say that he got political. This guy 45 is a whole different bowl of wax. You know, it's I don't even think you
But
can say
I think you
Republican and
can say.
Democrat.
I think you can say he got political. I mean, the
I
issue is
personally think
that
it's a
he even
manner. I think it's a
He
moral
says it
thing.
himself.
right. He says
I mean,
himself.
I
He
think
says,
what
"Hey, I would."
drove him to be political was a moral thing, was not necessarily
But that's still getting political.
Yeah.
whatever. Anyhow, it's a moral thing. And I do think that there are a lot of people, because of the way that 45 moves, that normally would push back and normally would give him the same respect that you would give anybody. But because of the way he moves, you can't sit there and just be like, oh, this is just him. There's nothing normal about that behavior. So I totally understand.
You won't give me. You wouldn't get me to disagree
Well,
with
that's
you.
a different. Yeah, that's a
Right.
different.
But I do think that it's nice to kind of like get his perspective. There's, you know, like the one that he captured of President Obama with his daughters in the snow. Or, you know, the one photograph that we all know where the little boy is touching his head because it's like, wait a minute, the president's hair is like mine, you know. All of these things, I do want to know, like, was it planned? Was it, you know, happenstance? And also the sign of a great photographer is being able to be not to be in the room but not seen, capturing and moving and all of that. And I think I don't feel like we needed two. I think you saw growth of him, not just as a person, but as an artist. Because again, when he was with Reagan, he was younger. He was on point. And then being able to come back to the White House, he got a chance to fix some things, maybe in his mind as an artist, that he didn't get to do previously, which rarely happens for you.
I think you're right. I do think though that you could feel still the imbalance of it. Like you started with I'm with Reagan, and then I did the most iconic person, Republican president in Reagan, and then I did the most iconic Democratic one in Obama. Is that it's very noticeable.
It's also a different time though.
I understand, but I'm saying that you can't say it's not noticeable. I noticed it and I liked it. So I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm happy he stayed over there in the Obama piece because I learned a lot more. I went to school with Michelle Obama. I played Barack played basketball with me. So I know these people. So to have known these people, I haven't known them since they've been in the White House, but I knew them before they went to the White House. And to see the perspective that he gave, I thought he did. I loved it. I just have to be honest. I know for a fact that it was a lopsided in that way. And I will say this, is that we gave Dawn Porter a little pushback as it relates to Good Trouble. I think she did a much better job here. To me, this was a much better picture, and I'd love to know what you thought about that, Shawn, because you gave Dawn a little grief as well.
And so did everyone else. It was Good Trouble was an incomplete documentary. Yeah, she seemed a little more focused with this. I mean, you never know what she had at her disposal, or what caused the other documentary to kind of like flail a little bit. But yeah, it seems like she had a little more access. I mean, she had a great subject, and he probably lent himself, to her availability. But I still agree with you. I mean, it's 3-1. There's a little imbalanced, and I mean it didn't diminish it for me, but it is very noticeable.
Me neither. This is for me. Just so you know, Kathia, this is a must see.
Great what? Yeah, it's a must see.
I just don't agree that it's unbalanced because it's two very different men, very different times. And again, I am a photographer, published, by the way. It's a huge world of difference when you work with film.
We understand that, but
and also the fact that you grow as a photographer, like this. I mean, you can just tell.
You can see his growth. We said that. We mentioned that.
His whole.
We said he got better.
Excuse you. Excuse you. I don't need a hype man. We can see how it goes.
I'm just, dude, chill. Just chill, dude.
You know what I mean? And I think that is really, and also, like I said, as from what we know of Reagan, because again, we didn't have the open wide access that we do now into our politicians. He was a different type of dude.
But I think that your point, I think that your other point actually supersedes that. Whatever we know of Reagan, I think that your point that this was all Sousa. This was him. He was the number one point guy. So he got to look at it and shoot it the way he wanted to shoot it. And that means that, and the type of access that he had and all of that. I think that that point supersedes everything else.
There's a whole freaking Instagram account for the White House to document everything that these people do.
Absolutely.
And I also thought it was very interesting because up until 45, it was done that way, that we document everything, whereas 45 does not. There's pieces of history that we're missing because of 45 moves.
A lot.
And I think that's, and I don't think that particular portion of it, I think, got lost on a lot of people because we will never know unless only those people in that room will speak up about it. So we're losing vital information. But I love this documentary. I mean, I think, like I said, as a photographer, I love him as a photographer because he has a special gift that not all photographers do, of being able to catch the in-between moment, the non-staged moments, just to show you that, the White House is a working house, that these people do have lives, they have families. And again, I am not a Reagan fan, but I am a fan of their relationship, of their marriage. You know what I mean? And that is definitely something that he also lovingly spoke about.
Well, with that, I'm gonna make the last comment to say that I think that it did show the seriousness of the office. This is absolutely a must see, and I'll be telling people to check it out. Now we're gonna move into our topics. I had a couple of topics on here, but we'll probably only cover 3 of them because we're a little bit over time. The first topic that we're gonna talk about today is Chadwick Boseman. We keep talking about this dude. So this topic is, the dude shared his salary. He said, nah. I will make less so she can make more. Do we care? Did he did it because he's dying? Does it matter? I mean, what are your thoughts about this?
I mean, it shows you again, Hollywood does not pay women their worth. And it's a shame because in reality, he shouldn't have had to cut his salary. They should have just paid her money, point blank, period. But again, because he was a good dude and he did understand the pay disparity, he was like, no, since you all want to step up, I will step up. And a lot of people don't know that he was also a producer on 21 Bridges. So he's like, you know what, since the studio won't do the right thing, I'm going to do the right thing. But I think, again, the bigger picture is Hollywood not paying women their worth, point blank, period.
Yeah, Shawn.
It's a good story. Like you said, he was a producer, so I mean, we don't know the inner workings of that, but we'll let it stand as a good story.
Yeah, I think what I took from that, because he was a producer, he absolutely knew what the pay was, and what that just says to me is that when you're in those positions of power and you know that there's an inequity,
you have more leverage.
That you have more leverage, and you should do something about it. So I'm really happy that he did it. I think it is a good story, and it does speak to the character of him. All right, moving on. Next one. Shawn, you talked about this. You were like, Antebellum, it did well. People were watching it, but on Rotten Tomatoes, man, not even the audience loved it. It barely made it. It got like 50.
Yeah, but those are two different. Those are two different things. I mean, there are lots of movies that get bad scores on Rotten Tomatoes and get bad reviews. But I'm just saying, finally, we're getting industry numbers on what's selling and what's making money on VOD. And it's important to note that this movie's on the top of a lot of VOD platforms. So whether you loved it or hated it, it's succeeding monetarily. That's all.
Why do you think, though, that it succeeded monetarily? Because a lot of times it's like word of mouth. If somebody will say, "Hey, I really liked it."
A lot of pieces of the pizza are helping the movie. A limited amount of stuff that people want to see. Finally, something in that horror vein that does very well on VOD. Controversy, word of mouth. There are a lot of different things that are helping it. Just wanted to note that, despite all, people are pushing that pay button.
Kathia, What thoughts
This
on that?
movie is a travesty from up to down, and people like to watch a car wreck, and this is a car wreck. But when they do hit play, they're like, "This is a freaking nightmare. This is a problem top to bottom." So yes, they've got the money, but here's the thing: is they didn't get the respect. So it depends. If you're comfortable with saying, "Hey, your movie made a lot of money," and people think I'm trash, then okay, you might be okay. Some people are perfectly okay with that. They don't really care about substance. They don't care about respect. They don't care about credibility. I'm just sad because I think Janelle Monáe deserved better. She's a really good actress. She seems like a good soul, and she deserves better. And I also need the director to calm down. You made this movie. This is what you said was your vision. Then don't get mad that you always got to put your big boy pants on and accept the fact that a lot of people, especially Black women, were super offended about it. You can't come on Twitter and rant at people because they don't love your movie. That's not how it's done. You made something. You said this is what it is. We have a right to say we not feeling it.
But is this a case? So I don't disagree with anything you said there, Katia. But is this a case though of people saying I didn't like it, but I really did like it? Because we get that
No,
For
because
some, maybe we don't know.
the reason I asked that question is that uh, sometimes people say I don't like something, but then they go watch it anyway, and they'll pay their money. I'm the kind of person that if I say I don't like it, I'm not going to pay for it. And there must be, to me, there's some kind of disconnect of people continuing to pay for it. Like let's just
That's
say
why
it
I brought
happened
it
one
up.
week. It happened one week, but they still are checking it out. So there must be something, this word of mouth or something that's getting people to say, even though they said they didn't like it, I'm gonna go check it out.
it's a car wreck. People stop to see a car wreck. That's what it is. We have a society that likes to see horrible things happen to people. It's not. There's no. And I really try to say good things about one good thing about every film. Do you know what I mean? But there's no value in here. There's none. You know what I mean? Like there really isn't. And also we have to remember Janelle Monáe has a huge fan base. They may have held their nose, but they may want to support her and be like, you know what, this is her first starring role. Let me go support my girl. And while they're sitting there, they're like, "Ooh, girl, this is I don't know about this,"
Well, I
but
will say
that's
one.
that type of thing.
I will say one thing: whether you hate the movie or you love the movie, the studio's marketing campaign is one of the better ones so far this year.
I would agree with that. I agree.
And you're a
I,
marketing guy.
I,
You made your money. You built your house in marketing. Their
I,
marketing. Say what you want about the film. Their marketing campaign is
I,
pretty good.
I have to
Yeah,
agree
it's
that
like Sis said. We do need more slave movies because there are a lot of untold stories. We didn't need this slave movie.
yeah. I didn't hate it as much as you, so I hear you.
But
I
that marketing piece has to be. I mean, when you study the great campaigns, I mean, this Antebellum 2020 campaign is that's how you sell a movie.
they did. You know what? When I want a studio to do a good job with a black movie to market it and sell it, uh, whether because there's a lot of things you said, Katya, that I agree with in terms of that it's not the best. And for women, Shawn said this last week that it when we talked about two movies that
Right,
it's a bad day for women when we
right.
talk about these movies. So I'm totally in agreement with that. How they marketed it though, they definitely did a good job,
Man.
and I think that's a
And
real,
that's where a lot of black films fall short is in the marketing.
that's right.
This film got excellent marketing
How do you
and
market
money.
it? And speaking of that, that's such a good segue because they're marketing Regina King. She got a Cadillac commercial, y'all. Did y'all see that?
Yes, I did. She's as hot as she can get, man. She's red hot and she deserves it, man. She's been in the business 4 decades.
You know, I was excited because I'm waiting for her now to say what's in your wallet.
She needs that too. She deserves it all. And all of this is going to help because trying to get one of those 5 best directing slots is very, very difficult. But all this is helping to lead the way. So congratulations to her. Much deserved. Bring on more.
Katya, you just got a new car, so come on, Cadillac,
I
come on,
mean,
girl.
I will say this: if this year or 2021, we don't have two women's names, two women of color's name in that five director slot,
It's not gonna be two women of
then
color.
excuse you,
It's not gonna be two women of color.
if we don't have two women of color's name in that slot, then we have failed again, because so far of what has been put out, if these same situations are still out, actually, if you do a top 10 list, a real top 10 list, not one driven by marketing, but best films, majority of the films were done by women. Point blank, period. They really put together the most interesting, different perspective films. But
so this is gonna be the last.
BGA is dominated by men, and they don't support. And I'll die on that hill. They do not support women of color. They'll support white women before they support women of color.
I'm going to agree with that. So you really segue right into, you segue right into our last topic that we're going to talk about today is Oscar contenders. And so since you just said that the majority of them, you must have like 3 or 4 movies directed by women that you're putting into that category, and I'd like to know what they are.
No Man Land, directed by Chloe Chow. She's a woman of color. Last time I checked, she wasn't white. She's Asian.
She's Asian.
Deserves to be in that. She made an absolutely beautiful postcard, and she edited the film. So it is a beautiful film. And this is me again. If Frances gets a nomination, how do you not nominate the director? Frances will get a nomination. Did she direct herself? This film is Chloe's vision. Top to freaking bottom. This is a Chinese woman that understands middle America better than people who were born and bred here. Number 2, I'm going to make the case, and I'm still going to make the case for Regina King. Amazon, spend the freaking money. You have it. Cut the crap. You have done a poor job with previous films. If you want to really fight neck and neck with Netflix, you got to put out the money, and you got to pick up the phone. You got to make those phone calls. That's as simple as that. And again, I'm going to say this because this has been really burning me up. Ammonite is a knockoff Portrait of a Lady. You want to give all the praise to this film. I think Kate Winslet is a good actress. I like Sorcy. But this film right here, it's one of those things where, because those 2 women have name recognition and because they've been in a bunch of other stuff, they automatically are shoo-ins, and that's not right. Because if we're really, once again, if we take the marketing piece out of it, the name recognition out of it, and if we're really putting the best performances up there, how in the hell? And I saw Pieces of a Woman. I love Vanessa Kirby. I think she's amazing. She's an outstanding actress. But that was an incomplete film. That gave you 30 minutes. How in the hell are Kate Winslet's performance and Vanessa Kirby's performance better than Nicole Behari's?
So you gave me 2. You gave me 2. I just need one more from you.
And number 3, and again, Ammonite is a knockoff Portrait of a Lady. If you want to see a story like that, go watch Portrait of a Lady, which is a way, way better film, and totally got screwed last year during award season. And I don't even know how, because I think it's a series of films. I don't even know how it works in terms of the Academy Awards, but what Steve McQueen is doing with this anthology is freaking amazing.
It's an Emmy qualifier. It's that Steve McQueen's anthology is an Emmy qualifier, not an Oscar qualifier. So unfortunately, he won't be able to compete for Oscars.
Black people are global, and I think it's so important that we're getting these different perspectives of what civil rights and revolution looked like in other parts of the world. Because although America is great, that wasn't the only situation. It's not the only place where Black people live. And I think it's so cool and it's so well done. Letitia is freaking amazing in this. I had tears of joy just to see her. She's so good in this, but I don't know how that appeals. Right. I think that's going to move over to Emmys, but that definitely deserves a lot of chatter.
All right, Shawn. So some of the movies that Kathia said that she's seen, I have not seen. So, but we've
seen quite a few of them.
Talking about Oscar buzz. What you got?
Yeah, Oscar buzz. Well, I'm reserving all my Oscar buzz for one movie and one movie only because it needs as many people to champion it as possible. So the best thing I've seen so far in 2020 that's eligible, that's been shown to the majority of the people out there, including critics, is Miss Juneteenth. That's what I'm pushing. I mean, I like Miss Juneteenth better than One Night in Miami. I actually thought the director of that film did a better job. I mean, it's a fascinating film. It's well written. It's well acted. That's my push.
All right. Well, look, we talked about a lot. We talked about four movies. We talked about a couple of subjects.
Miss Juneteenth, man. That's the Miss Juneteenth.
There we
But
go.
it's been on
Nicole.
no one's Oscar list. You know what I mean? It's been on no one's Oscar list because, again, these lists are so driven by marketing. We're not sitting down and saying who's made the best film. It's a bunch of BS, and this is why people don't trust the process. This is why people hold
Well,
their nose.
that's why we
That's
have
why
this show. Change the
that's why ratings
narrative.
have been in the toilet because people are like really, and it's just it's really like we had a whole movie that did the same thing as this one movie, beautifully done by these French women that you all ignored. And this year, because it's in English and because it has so and so in it, you now want to say this is amazing. Like, make it make sense because it's crazy.
No, it doesn't make sense, and
Never had. Departed won Best Picture. It's not better than the original movie it was based on.
yeah, this is the reoccurrence, and Shawn is right. That's why we assembled this is to have
Yeah,
these
we spread.
discussions
Put your list up on your platforms.
and to push and to try to push some of this. So this segment obviously will be one of the segments that I'll put out there first.
Yeah, change the narrative.
Listen, I've been on this Miss Juneteenth since I saw it at
I
Sundance.
know
I've been talking
I,
about this film.
great
I
movie.
posted my review. I did a whole panel on
both of you
things.
get both
But
of you
the
did.
point is, again,
Yeah.
it's not, we're the minority. And it's also sad to see certain people of color that are sitting in positions of authority that aren't talking about this film. So it goes to show you it's a mess. It really is. And
Well,
I
you know,
stand by this. If the Academy does not nominate two women, and I'm talking about two women of color, and I'm perfectly okay if it's not Regina, and if oh God, what is her name? The director of Miss Juneteenth. I can't even believe that she escaped me. But
Channing Godfrey Peoples.
yes, she definitely deserves to be there. She's a lovely woman, and it's just BS. That really, if it's all five men again, the hashtag should be, the DJ is full of crap.
But right now they're looking pretty good. There's still a lot
No,
of
they're
stuff to
not.
come, but
Show
they're looking
improve.
pretty good.
Show improve. Show improve. We will see
No
when
Man
the
Lands
nominations come
is
out. And
looking
I'll
pretty
start the
good.
hashtag that the DJ is full of trash.
you said No Man Land. What, Shawn?
Sitting pretty good. It's gonna end up. She's in the house.
She's a brilliant filmmaker.
She's in the house.
She's
She'll
in there.
be. Yeah,
She's
she's
in-
in there.
She's
She's
a
in there.
brilliant filmmaker.
Well,
She's
y'all.
definitely in there.
A Chinese American woman understands middle heart America better than these people that
She's
claim
straight.
they understand that. That's the real kicker right there.
She's straight. She's one of the five. She's
Well,
straight.
well, you said she's in the house. Hey, I got to go
She's in the
back in
house.
the house. It's time to go. You have been watching the Real Critic Roundtable. This is where
Oh,
Black
man.
critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. I don't
Do
know
it.
what we did today, but we tried to do all that. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
See you next time.
All right.